We're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and to come in.
When do you think you would enact those?
I think February 1st.
Are you planning on giving notice of that?
I think we'll do it February 1st.
25% on both, sir?
Sir.
On each.
On each,
yeah.
We all knew it was coming, but we hoped it wasn't. And I thought I was going to make it through this, but I'm not. It hurts.
Ladies and gents, welcome back. Donald Trump is now the President of the United States. He was sworn in yesterday as the 47th President, Commander-in-Chief. Now, this is a good thing overall. I think things are going to move forward and things are going to be good in the future, but there may be some growing pains, especially for Canada, for, well, what we saw was threats of 25% tariffs on all goods going into the United States if Canada doesn't fix their border issues. Yes, there is a caveat that could get us away from having any of these in the first place. Now, a lot of people were waiting. Oh, is he going to forget? Is he going to forget about this? Lori Goldstein saying Trump to hold off tariffs. Report says cheering markets. President-elect Donald Trump won't impose broad tariffs on Canada day one of his presidency and instead will order review of trade and currency imbalances. The Wall Street Journal reported Monday. Now, of course, people are saying in the thread of this one, how much do you think, or how much do you want to bet Trudeau and his ilk will try to take this as a victory lap over the announcement? Well, if they were running victory laps, they probably would have done it too short. Later in the day, Donald Trump, while signing executive orders, had this to say.
We're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and fentanyl to come in.
When do you think you would enact those?
I think February 1st.
Are you planning on giving notice of that?
I think we'll do it February 1st.
25% on both, sir?
Sir.
On each.
On each,
yeah.
On each, Mexico and Canada, 25% tariffs on all goods. This is a blanket tariff. It's an economic sanction. This is not a trade war issue. This is an economic sanction for a very particular reason. Fix your border. This has been the issue from day one. Now, Trudeau not seeming to get that issue. Focus on the border. Instead, he's been focusing on retaliatory attacks on the United States if this were to go through.
As I've said consistently, if the incoming American administration moves forward with tariffs, we will not hesitate to act. We will respond, and I will say it again, everything is on the table.
Yeah, everything. Is everything on the table? We'll get to that. But we have leader of the NDP, Jagmeet Singh, getting on CBC TV to talk about how he's in full support of this. And idiotically, was asked by Vashi on CBC, don't you think perhaps you're partially responsible for our vulnerability in this situation? You kind of put us in this light. What do you think?
Mr. Singh, I'm asking you about oil, right? You have been opposed to pipelines that would allow for Canada to export its oil to other places other than the United States. Was that a mistake?
I mean, I don't think that's relevant right now to the question of tariffs being imposed on Canada and in response to us being willing to do whatever is necessary. And I disagree with Danielle Smith, who's prematurely pulling back a potential tool. I think in negotiating, you need to have all your tools ready to go and you escalate them as necessary. We need to respond if there are tariffs with tariffs in kind. We also need to make it clear, I think, to the workers that might be impacted that we will have their back, that we will support them. So that's my focus.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, the relevancy is more in the medium to long term, right? In oil is one aspect of it, but essentially we're in a place where 4 years after we thought there wouldn't be another Donald Trump, there is one, and we're incredibly vulnerable to the prospect of any tariffs because of our reliance on the U.S. as an export market. And I was just asking about whether or not oil should only go there, or if if it's being, short-sighted to essentially oppose getting oil to other places so that we're not so vulnerable?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't focus on just one product. I think in general, my response to that is in general, the previous governments, both conservative and liberal, have not built an economy in Canada where we do more than just take out raw materials out of the earth. We need to also refine products. We need to add value to products.
What a hypocrite. He won't approve any new refineries in Canada, let alone getting us to export markets. Now, this is a map of the pipelines in Canada. Now, this is the contention right here. If we were to shut off oil and gas from Alberta, it has to go into the United States via the Enbridge main line. It goes into the United States and it doesn't come back into Canada until you get to Sarnia, where it goes to line 9, and then that's how the East Coast, that's how Ontario East gets energy from the West. They would cut themselves off. It's called shooting yourself in the foot if you try to shut off energy. And in fact, they're saying that if Alberta doesn't capitulate with the federal government, they'll put taxes on Alberta oil going into the United States. So, I mean, you can't get it from both sides. In fact, if you look here, there was propositions. There was a proposition for a trans expansion, the Northern Gateway. It was rejected. Who? Yeah, the Liberals and the NDP. They rejected it. Energy East was canceled. That's right, by the NDP Liberals. We could have been reliant and we could have had our energy go to the world market, which actually would have benefited us even domestically or even internationally with the United States, because we could have sold our oil not at a discount, because right now, the Americans are the only ones we can sell it to. So they say, yeah, well, we're not going to pay full price. We're just not going to do that. And moving into this trade war that they're hoping to enter, it's not going to serve us well at all with the being hogtied like we have been. Now, even liberal candidates going into the liberal election are using this as a talking point for why they should be elected as party leader.
I want to let you in on a little secret. Donald Trump doesn't like me very much.
Canada. We don't like this.
That is nothing to brag about. That is absolutely nothing to brag about. And that's not something that we need in leadership, in a leadership position moving forward. Sorry, sweetheart. You're not... That's probably a campaign ad you might want to take down. But someone who does have a good idea of how to deal with negotiations internationally is the Premier of Alberta herself, Danielle Smith. She went to the inauguration of Donald Trump. She was invited. Hey, you know what? If you're a friendly character, yeah, that's right. You'll get invited to these things. They'll bring you to the table so you can talk about it. She was stopped by Keean of the Counter Signal, and this is brought to you by True North, and ask a few questions, and this is what she had to say.
Many on the left in Canada, including in Trudeau's government and in Naheed Nenshi's NDP opposition, have criticized you for being here. As I'm sure you know, they say that you shouldn't be doing this, whether it's for Alberta or even Canada, that it's not your role. What do you say to them?
My role is Premier and a Minister of International and Intergovernmental Relations, so it actually is in my job title, and I think there's no one better to tell the Alberta story than me. I think part of the problem that we have is that we have a hostile federal government that has been taking actions to try to shut down or shut in our production at a time when we now hear from the Americans they want to exert their energy dominance internationally. The only way they can do that is with Canada's help, because already we sell 4.5 million barrels per day of product to the U.S. It keeps prices lower for their consumers, but it allows them to value add as well as export internationally to their trading partners and allies. And we should support that. And so I've been talking about doubling oil and gas production. I would love to sell it through British Columbia if we had a Northern Gateway pipeline. I'd love to sell it through the East Coast if we had the Energy East pipeline. Maybe now is a time for us to do a little bit of our own soul searching and ask the questions about whether those projects can be reactivated. Because
that's a great concept. It is absolutely a great concept. She was even on American News to talk about these things in particular. CBC Watcher putting this out there. Danielle Smith nails it here. She was the only one engaging with Trump and his team, and no tariff materialized today.
for sure that conversation is not today. There are enough things for people to talk and worry about today. But somewhere there is a playbook about what to do if the conversation has to happen tomorrow. And if the conversation comes down to a potential export tariff or a ban from Canada, from Ottawa, what's in your playbook?
Well, my playbook is to talk with the incoming Secretary of the Interior and the incoming Secretary of Energy and ask if they want to double our oil and gas production and double our oil and gas export. That's where I'm going next. I believe that we should be talking about how we sell more to America, not less, and that we should be talking to America about how we can buy more from them too. If they really are concerned that we're not buying enough, well then let's buy more gas turbines, let's buy more AI infrastructure, let's buy more military equipment. This is the constructive conversation that we need to have, and I think we need to stop with the threats and start talking about diplomacy and collaboration, because that's where we're going.
That is such a much better way of discussing things. Now contrast that completely with the NDP and their perspective. This is the NDP Liberal Coalition government and their way of looking at the United States.
Well, Donald Trump, you're a disgrace as a human being. I'm sorry, you may have gotten the presidency, but you're a disgrace. You're a convicted felon. You're a pervert. You treat your allies with absolute disdain while you kiss up to Putin. Here's the thing. We are your best neighbor. We are your best ally. We are your #1 trading partner, but we won't break, Donald, because you think your grifter politics can push us around, and we will continue.
That's enough of that. You think that's going to win somebody over? Really? Realistically, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Does Charley Angus have the right approach to negotiations? I doubt it. And this is why there's some serious contention and why, there's actually an honest separatist movement growing in the West. Is this what Trudeau is asking for? Of course, Trudeau is very well known for dividing people up, the whole divide and conquer tactics. But here's Ezra Levant interviewing Danielle Smith and bringing a real concern of an actual possibility that Alberta might, because of all of this, want to take off, eh?
So you've got Trudeau pushing and the Americans pulling. I'm not saying that Alberta would leave or join, but I'm saying the polls suggest that a number of Albertans or a number of Canadians are open to the idea. And if Trudeau went full national energy program, I think you could have an actual unity crisis as bad as Quebec separatism. And I think it would be as much Trudeau pushing as Trump pulling. What do you think about that?
I'm not disagreeing with you. That's why I keep telling them to knock it off. Stop talking about putting export tariffs, Ottawa export tariffs on Canadian energy. I mean, I can do the math along with anyone else. You take $150 billion worth of exports, slap on a 25% tariff, you're now looking at $40-50 billion worth of revenues that would go to Ottawa to be distributed to every other province except for the province it generated in. That sounds like an equalization program to me, and it sounds a heck of a lot like a national energy program that his dad put in. And we know the devastation that caused. Unemployment rose to 12.5%. People lost houses, people lost jobs, people lost their lives. This is one of the things I don't think that this government realizes, and this particular prime minister realizes, about how devastating the national energy program was to the psyche of Alberta. And he's playing with fire when he talks about that. I mean, it's one thing if there's a tariff on American orange juice and we all have to pay more for our orange juice. That's, I think, a price we're all willing to pay. Let's, esprit de corps, we're all in this together. If we have to do some countervailing tariffs, fair enough. But you can't single out a single province and a single industry and demonize it and victimize it this way without having a reaction. And I think he's really playing with fire. It's why I didn't sign the communique. I'm just not prepared to agree to anything that is going to damage Alberta jobs, Alberta economy, and our very important vital relationship with the United States.
I think that's a sensible way of looking at things. And here we're in a situation where all the provinces, Trudeau's doing his usual thing, dividing the country up, pitting everyone against one individual group. And this time it's Alberta. This time it's putting all the pressure on Alberta. What do you think will happen? I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about all of this. The tariffs coming in. Do you think Trudeau will eventually do the right thing and capitulate with the border thing? Or do you think we'll go into an election and all of this will fizzle away because we have better government afterwards? Let me know in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.